So today, distance formula. What is that? And it's derived from Pythagorean theorem. So they come from each other. So let's hopefully we can make that observation. So this is the distance formula. Write this down. This is very important. You can find the distance between 2 points on a coordinate plane. So I'll pause here. And this is just a visual representation. And this is how you can kind of see the sides. Right? It looks a lot more confusing, but we have A, B, and C, which is A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So let's look at some examples. So let's label some points here. So first point here is 1, 1. So we're trying to find the distance between these two green dots. I just drew in. This point here is 5, 3. Alright, so let's simplify this for a second here. The length is x2 minus x1, and the length here is y2 minus y1. So let me label my points. So I'll call this x1, y1, and this x2, y2. So the length for the x's would be 5 minus 1, which equals 4. And the length for the y's would be 3 minus 1. 3 minus 1, which equals 2. Also, let's count this. From here, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. And from here, 1, 2. So my equation would be this. 2 of them. 4 squared plus 2 squared equals, we'll call it d squared for distance, or d equals, alright, so let's fill this in here. So we have, I highlighted the formula up at the top. 5 minus 1 squared plus 3 minus 1 squared. So what is, both answers will be hopefully the same. And d equals, here, the square root of 4 squared plus 2 squared. And you should start seeing that it's the same. This will be 20 equals d squared. So d equals the square root of 20. Same thing. Alright, so let's look at this problem. So all we have to do is plug in the distance formula. Or we're looking for the distance here of this red line. So we could also say, ooh, the length here is 1. And the length here is 2. So we can also use our Pythagorean theorem, which is 1 squared plus 2 squared equals the distance squared. All right, but let's use our formula. So let's call this x1, y1, and this x2, y2. Let me move that over so it's overly. So there are your points. So now let's plug it into our formula. So our formula is equals the square root. So x2 is 2. So 2 minus 1 squared plus, and now let me do the y's. I'll do the y's in black. So the y's are 3 and 1. So 3 minus 1 squared. So again, what we should be noticing is it should be the same numbers. So this is 1 squared plus 2 squared, which equals the square root of I'll do it out, 1 plus 4, which equals the square root of 5. So let's do this one, the Pythagorean theorem. Same thing. 1 plus 4 equals d squared, and now I'm going to get, you guys are going to be out of control for this lesson. I feel it. I feel it now. D equals the square root of 5. And if you weren't, I just put you there. Alright, so that's how you find the distance between 2 points on a coordinate plane. So let's try these ones. So we want to find the distance between these 2 points. That's not good. So we can use our distance formula. I drew the line in. So there's our formula. And again, we can, and I'm going to make a triangle, but I'm going to make it with different colors here. So here is my triangle, my right triangle. There's one side, and my purple side, which is Y, we'll say. Right? So there's my triangle that I could make. And I'm going to have you guys try this problem here, and I'm going to pause it. For those of you that can't see these points, let me put them in first, though. So the x-coordinate for B is -3, comma, and I'll do the y's in purple. -3, because I go over -3 that way. And then down to -4. So remember, it goes x, comma, y, and x goes left and right, comma, and then y goes up and down. So there's our first coordinate, and now our a coordinate is over to 6. So that's 6, and then comma 4. So you're going to plug these in. All right? And it looks a little bit harder. So if you want to label, I'll start labeling this. This is x1, y1, x2, y2. So try your distance formula, okay? I'll pause it here. So before I go on here, I started doing the first problem. So you guys can count how far does this move. So it goes over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 in the x direction, and then if you counted this one, it's going to be 8. And that's where these numbers come from. So you got to remember that this here makes a plus, right? 2 negatives when you're subtracting makes a plus. So this is going to equal the square root of 81 plus 64. So what's that going to equal? And we'll just leave it as a square root of 145. Alright, so I'm going to pause it here, and here's the problem I want you guys to work on. So let's try this one on your own. So that's it.